First want to say, Judy, how beautiful. I mean, I'm not just going to say handsome, but how beautiful your father was. I'm so proud and honored to be here tonight because Jimmy Stewart was an inspiration to me and really my ideal as an actor, as a man. I even knew him a little bit. So I'm at Jerry Weintraub's house, big Hollywood producer, in the summer of 1991, but not as a guest, as a waiter. President Bush Sr. was there for a fundraiser. Warren Beatty, Janet Jackson, Julie Andrews, Don Rickles. All of Hollywood seemed to be in attendance. Frankly, it was the first time I had ever seen so many famous people in one place. And I was a little starstruck. Okay, actually a lot starstruck. Now, I was by no means an experienced waiter. I only got the job because someone else backed out. Before the event started, we were told in no uncertain terms by the lead waiter that we were not to talk to any of these guests. To do so would mean instant termination, which seemed fine to me. It wasn't like I was planning on sharing my life story with Don Rickles or something. But then I saw Jimmy Stewart go by, my idol, a man that I so admired, and I thought, well, yeah, I'm willing to get fired for that guy. Why was Jimmy Stewart so important to me? I wanted to serve my country. Members of my family were in the military, and I had applied to the U.S. Naval Academy at that time. So, though I knew Jimmy Stewart as a delightful everyman who could make us laugh and cry on screen, sometimes in the same scene, it was Jimmy Stewart's selflessness that most impressed me. I had seen all his films and actually read a few biographies of Mr. Stewart. See, most people don't realize that a year after winning the Oscar for the Philadelphia Story, he was drafted. While most movie stars were trying to dodge the draft in the early 1940s, Jimmy gorged himself with food in an attempt to qualify for enlistment. He finally made the weight requirement and entered in as a private. Within a couple years, he was a flight instructor and a captain. Years later, even a brigadier general. But he tired of being stateside and urged his superiors to let him fly for his country abroad. He would become the first Hollywood actor to serve in World War II. As lead pilot and commander of the 8th Air Force Bomber Squadron, he flew B-24 Liberators in more than 20 combat missions. At great personal risk, many of those missions were deep into German territory. He returned from the war to shoot what is my favorite Jimmy Stewart movie, It's a Wonderful Life. And his was. He was a talented actor, a humble family man, and a patriotic American. All of this filled my mind when I saw him at the Jerry Weintraub party, so I had to say something. Mr. Stewart, what can I get you to drink? Well, thank you, son. A scotch and soda would be just fine. I got the drink and decided to have another word. I mean, was I going to ever see Jimmy Stewart again? I told him that I had applied to the U.S. Naval Academy 3 times and had added that I was now trying this acting thing. Do you have any advice for me? Now, out of the corner of my eye, I spied this lead waiter who was scraping his finger across his throat. You're gone. And I was. As I started to leave, Mr. Stewart told me, and it seemed like a command to me, young man, you make good movies. Those words have been my professional motto ever since. You make good movies. As Mr. Stewart aged and and I heard about his illnesses. I would drop get-well cards off at his home. One time I even did something I have never done before or since. I asked his maid to please have him sign a picture that I dropped off at the house. She instructed me to come back in a few days. When I returned to the house, the maid invited me inside. There was Jimmy Stewart at the piano with Mrs. Stewart standing nearby. He looked very frail. Unfortunately, they had misplaced the picture, so he didn't sign it for me. But I got something better. A chance to spend some time with my hero. After chatting for a little while, I ran out of things to say, so I blurted out, I just wanted to tell you that I love you. Tears came to my eyes. Mrs. Stewart was also crying, and I departed. Shortly after that meeting, I got the thin red line. I sent Mr. Stewart a note to tell him that I had made it, or at least got a first crack at making it. I can remember that it was while shooting that movie with Sean Penn. The first day I shot with, and you can ask Sean Penn, I had heard the news that Jimmy Stewart had died. And above my mantel at home is an original poster from It's a Wonderful Life. I love that film. For it reminds us that we all have an angel watching over us, and that every life is of inestimable value to God. It's what I would call a good movie. Let me correct myself. A great movie. I went on to make a few good movies of myself. The Count of Monte Cristo, Bobby Jones, Frequency, and The Game Stands Tall. And of course, the movie I'm most proud of, The Passion of the Christ. It also reminds us how very much that we are loved by God and how lasting that love is. Jimmy Stewart's character on and off the screen left a deep mark on me and millions of others, and still millions to be. He never forgot where he came from, nor where he was going, and neither do I. There is a little poem that captures this idea perfectly. Your name may not appear down here in this world's Hall of Fame. In fact, you may be so unknown that no one knows your name. The Oscars and the praise of men, they never come your way. Don't forget, God has rewards that He'll hand out someday. This crowd on earth, they will soon forget when you're not at the top. They will cheer like mad until you fall, and then their praise will stop. Not God. He never does forget. And in His Hall of Fame, by just believing on His Son, forever there's your name. I tell you, friend, I wouldn't trade my name, however small. It's written there beyond the stars in that celestial hall. For all the famous names on earth, or the glory that they share, I'd rather be an unknown here and have my name up there. The world is in a moment of trial now because it forgot and abandoned our God. But you haven't. You are the fabric of Jimmy Stewart. And Jimmy Stewart never did. And neither will you. His name is up there. And it's yours as well. You see, Jimmy Stewart wasn't just an actor to me.